Want to welcome from SayAnythingBlog.com, Mr. Rob Port. Rob, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, Cam. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. I'm glad to do it. I would not have known about about the North Dakota State University policy banning a fencing club if it were not for your blog. This is absurd, Rob.
It is. Living in North Dakota, I wasn't aware that we had such a deadly scourge of fencing swords plaguing our community.
I was not aware of that either, quite honestly. I've not heard of the bands of roving fencers, accosting people in Fargo, or maybe, are they based in Moorhead, perhaps, and then come across into Fargo and then go back into Minnesota, into the wilds there?
Yeah, I'm not sure that anybody would describe Moorhead, Minnesota as the wilds, but, what's going on is there's a group of people who want to fence. It's a sport. They want to do it at North Dakota State University, but they're not allowed to bring their fencing swords on campus. Local news station, Valley News Live, quoted NDSU's Policy and Safety Director Ray Boyer. He said they are deemed weapons, and as such, possession or use on university-owned or controlled property is prohibited. And I think anybody who's seen a fencing sword, it's kind of a stretch to call one of these things a weapon.
Yeah, it is. Again, this is silly. We were going through the athletics at North Dakota State University, the actual athletic programs, not the club level sports. You've got football, Rob, which is kind of violent, right? But maybe it's just brute force. There are no implements involved. However, there is hockey at North Dakota State University. You got sticks, you got blades, you've got the spikes on the track shoes, you've got the baseball bats. And spikes on the cleats there for the baseball team. Golf team, they also have spikes, and they've got clubs that could be used. It seems to me that there are any number of athletes there at North Dakota State University who may be in violation of the school's weapons policy.
I think so. Honestly, the idea that you're going to kill somebody with a fencing sword, it'd be like trying to bludgeon somebody to death with a car antenna. I just don't think it's something that's going to work. And you're right. There's a lot of things. If the kids at North Dakota State University can't be trusted with fencing swords, we better take their forks away, too, or there's going to be a problem.
Right? Exactly. Are we monitoring the dining halls? How closely are we monitoring the dining halls? At that point, you might as well, there's probably a sharper end on the pencil or the pen that they're taking into the classroom, right?
Well, you're right. There's all sorts of sharp implements. What about the kids taking their compasses in the math class, right? There's pointy ends on there too. What about the push buttons holding up all the push pins holding up all the flyers in the halls too? It's a whole world of danger on the campus. I don't even think they're aware of yet.
Absolutely. I think maybe we need to start a campaign, Rob. Crayons for college students. And that way we don't have to worry about them hurting themselves with anything sharp or pointy. Just give them crayons.
Yeah, well, really, I think that if I was a college student at North Dakota State University, I would be a little bit, miffed at this. To talk about just having some pretty low opinions of the intelligence and the responsibility of college students, that they can't even be trusted with something like this. We joke about it and we say, well, maybe they should be using crayons, but honestly, this is a little insulting.
No, it absolutely is. In fact, I said, when we were talking about this in the last segment, I said, I don't know, I don't, maybe I was a different person at 19, but who I am today, I cannot imagine giving thousands of dollars to an institution that holds me in such disregard and disrespect.
Yeah, it really is. I really think it speaks to a low opinion of these kids that they can't be trusted with what. There's no points on these swords. There's no edges on these. They call them swords because that's the sport. That's where it came from, was sword fighting. Right. But they're not swords, right? And there's no edges. There's no points. They really do look like car antennas. Honestly, that's the thing I was thinking of is kids whipping each other with car antennas. That wouldn't be a good thing, but geez, you're not going to kill anybody.
So here's the real question, Rob. Does this concern you at all that this is happening in North Dakota? Because it's not something that you would think of as something that seems really North Dakota-ish.
You're right. I mean, North Dakota. I mean, we're certainly a place that we definitely believe in the Second Amendment. I think we definitely believe in the right to self-defense, and I think inherent to that is a trust in the average citizen to be able to handle this sort of thing responsibly. And so I think it is troubling when you have any government entity that is sort of expressing this idea that you can't be trusted with something like this. I think we can laugh at it and we can joke about it because it's absurd, but what's at the root there? That I think that fundamental mistrust of the responsibility of the individual person, be it a student or just an average citizen. I think that's behind a lot of what we see, extrapolate it out. I think it's behind a lot of what we see, like the attacks on the Second Amendment and things like that. It's just that fundamental distrust of the people.
Absolutely. No, I mean, look, when you talk about this, I mean, if this is the reaction to the school fencing club, imagine the reaction to the idea of campus carry. And again, around the country, we've seen these university officials and administration officials at schools large and small take this attitude. Look, when they're perfectly willing, Rob, to say, oh, we have the best and the brightest on our campus, and they're innovators, and they're going to be the future thought leaders of tomorrow. But then when it comes to them being able to protect themselves, them being able to exercise a constitutional right, they're drunks, Rob. They are drunk morning, noon, and night. And if they're not drunk, they're doing drugs. They're on something, I tell you. They can't be trusted. It's amazing, again, the shift you see in the language used by these officials talking about the same student body. If they want to promote their campus or if they want to try to keep it gun-free or epee-free, I suppose.
Well, what's kind of funny is that we did have a debate about concealed carry on campus at North Dakota State University several years ago. And what was funny about that debate is that the opponents of concealed carry on campus were basically saying, the campus is a secure place. There's no need for these students to be, carrying concealed on campus. But while that was going on, the president of the university at the time, Mr. Joe Chapman, actually had armed security guards following him around. So the students didn't need protection, but apparently the university president did.
Yeah, funny how that works. All too
it
often, isn't it? Yeah. So what do you think is going to happen next with the story of the fencing club? Is the story getting any traction? Because I mean, I think a lot of times what it takes is public embarrassment, and then all of a sudden the institution says, "Oh, this is bad publicity. We don't want this, so we'll back down."
Yeah, well, the university system, and there's a whole lot of issues surrounding it in North Dakota right now. I don't know if they'll back down on this. You would like to think that maybe somebody there on campus would come to their senses and say, "Hey, the fencers aren't a threat to security on campus. Let's let this happen." But you never know. It is getting a lot of attention in North Dakota right now. The story just kind of broke today, so I guess we'll see. And again, I would hope that somebody there would come to their sense, or maybe the students could rise up and say, "Hey, I think we can be trusted with fencing swords to let our fencing club on campus and enjoy a little bit of fun doing fencing activities on campus." I would hope that's where this is heading, but I guess we'll see.
I would hope so too, because if not, then honestly, the other option, Rob, I think would be to point out that there are, again, plenty of violations of the school weapons policy taking place in these athletic teams, and we got to maybe shut them all down. Maybe we need to lead the charge to shut down these programs, shut down the golf program, shut down the hockey program at North Dakota State University. Let's see how that goes.
I honestly think you could probably do a lot more damage with a baseball bat than you could a fencing sword, to be honest with you. I really do. I mean, I would, if somebody was coming at me with a fencing sword or a baseball bat, I think I'd be more afraid of the baseball bat.
Yes, I think I would be too, Rob. That might actually be an experiment for like the psychology department there at North Dakota State University. Maybe their research could buttress our opinion that this is stupid.
You shudder to think that we need research to conclude that something like this is absurd, but this seems to be the world that we live in. I mean, this is a world where a Pop-Tart eaten into the shape of a gun can get a kid suspended from school. So we're way out of the realm of common sense here.
Indeed we are. Well, listen, Rob, I really appreciate you coming on the program, and I'd love to follow up with you on this if it gets any traction, and let us know if you hear anything back officially from North Dakota State.
I do. I'll keep you in the loop.